So now that we know how to create and get the items from our database, we'll just close this create and index file here. And now we want to work on deleting. So to delete, we want to create a function in here called delete. Or actually, let's call this remove item, because if we name that delete, there might actually be a function in C# or something called delete that we don't want to accidentally override. So we'll take an int id here and we'll return a view. But we don't just want to return that view, we want to do something first. But before that, let's actually create the view here. So we'll do add view, and that's in our product folder in the views folder. And it'll just be an empty view. We'll call it remove item. And something went wrong there, so let me delete the one that it created and add that again. So now we just want to delete all of this, and we basically want the same stuff that's in our create file. So let's open that, and we'll just copy all of this and we'll paste it in the remove item. But here we want to say ASP input 4, we want to make this disabled, so the user can't type anything here. And then here as well, we just want to make this disabled. And if you wanted, you could also add the ID field here and make that disabled, but we don't really need that, so I'm going to leave that out of here. And for the button, we want the type to be submit, the value to be delete, and the same class. Actually, we can change this to BTN outline danger. And again, when we click submit here, we didn't add an action here, so it's going to submit to the same function, remove item, but the post version of it. But first, there's actually one more thing we want to do. So we have this disabled, but we actually want to show the user what the values they're deleting are. So here we want to do value is equal to this model, so at model dot name, and then here on the price one, we just want to do the value as well, so at model dot price. And right now we're not passing in any model here, so this is just going to be a blank product. So we actually want to find the correct model here using this ID that we're getting, and then pass that into the view. So let's just leave a few lines here, and we want to do, so we want to say product, that's the product type. We're going to do a question mark here to say that it might be null, and then we're just going to name this obj, and we're going to set it equal to underscore db dot products, and you can see it suggests us to use this find function here, and that's fine, it will work here. But the problem is here we're using ID, and that's, if we use the find, that will work fine. But if we were searching by a different parameter, not the ID or not the key, then we'll have to do this differently. So let's just do it differently, even though we can just use the find method here. So we'll do dot where, and in the parameters here, we're going to put another lambda expression. So we're going to say where x is x.id is equal to ID. So this lambda expression is basically returning x. It's getting all the products here, and then it's only returning x, where x.id is equal to the id we passed in. And then here we're doing first or default. So if it doesn't find anything, it will just return null into here. And since we made this nullable with the question mark, it can handle that. So now we're going to say if obj is equal to null, so that means it didn't find what we're looking for, then we're going to return not found. And if it did find something, we're going to return the view with obj. So here, remember, we're expecting a product model here, so instead of being blank, it's going to be this obj product here. And now if we run this, we should see that that works. So we don't actually have a button to take us to that delete page. So let's create that quickly in the index page. We're just going to add another header here called actions. And then for the data, we're going to say td. And we'll make this big because later on we're going to add the edit button here as well. And we're going to do an a tag with the class of btn. And then we're going to set the ASP-controller to be equal to, and we're going to set that equal to product. And we're going to set the controller equal to product, which is what we just created. And then ASP-action, we're going to set that equal to delete, or remove item is what we named it. And now if we just close that, and we'll call this delete. We should now see a delete button here. We didn't give it a color, but we'll do that later. So if we just delete this glove item, it will now take us to this blank page here. So we'll close that. And the reason why it did this is because, remember here in the product controller, we're expecting an ID. But in the form, we didn't pass anything. So the parameter we need to give it for that is ASP-root. And then the name of our parameter. So it's ASP-root dash the name of our parameter, which is ID. And we'll set that equal to what is it? So it's obj. So the current model we're working with is obj.id. And now if we run this, it should work correctly. I might have needed to wrap that in quotes, but now it works correctly. And now we can see this is grayed out. We can't type anything here, and we can only hit this delete button. But doing that right now won't do anything because there's no post method here. So we could have just deleted it inside this method, but it's better if we show the user the data so that they can decide if they really want to delete it or not. So now let's just create the post version of this. And this will actually take the entire item, so we don't need to just take the ID this time since we have the item in here. And we're going to say product obj, and then we're going to say _db, dot remove obj. Then we're going to save changes. So the command to remove something from the database is just remove, and then we need to save changes to make sure that actually went through to the database. And then we just want to return redirect to action index, and that will just take us back to the index page. So let's try this. We'll delete the glove item, and now we've successfully deleted that. So the last thing I want to do just before I end this video is I want to change the color here. So we'll set the class to button and the color to btn-danger. Not sure what's wrong with this index file, but my autocorrect thingy isn't coming up here. So now that should work correctly. We see the delete here, it's red. We click on it, it shows us the values, and then we can hit delete to get rid of the item. So in the next video we'll look at editing.